Hi everyone, my name is Laura and today we are going to be making string art for the teen and adult program for the month of December, and they are going to look something like this or this. So we also have a star, and that star is what we're going to be making in our video today. So stick around if you want to learn how to make string art. Okay, so first up we are going to start with our opening or taking everything out of our bag. Now you'll notice I'm going to have a few extra things in my bag since we have 3 different types of kits this month. So in my bag I have my nails. That's what we're going to be using to attach our string to. I also have this wood block, so everybody will have both of these things in their kit. Then you will also have your patterns. So I have the patterns for all 3 of the different kits. So I have the snowflake right here, the star, which is what we're going to be doing today, and the Christmas trees. So you got 2 different sizes of Christmas tree. One of them, and you got 2 copies of each. So one copy is to actually do the nailing, and then the other copy is to for reference, because it does get a little confusing when it's just a bunch of nails on the board. So you have 2 different options. This board will fit both of them. If you want to use the smaller tree, you can do that. Oops. The smaller tree, you can do that. It will fit on there if you're going up and down. If you would like to use the bigger tree, which I almost recommend just because it will get kind of tight in that little one. This one might too, but you can do it. You can actually do it on the diagonal for the big tree, but you're gonna have 2 copies either way. So you will also have some of this, it's like crochet yarn. It's for making like really dainty things. So this is the one for the tree. You have 4 different colors. You have the brown for the base, yellow for the star, green for the tree, and then I went ahead and added some colored in so that you can have a little extra jazz to your string art, because I thought it looked a little plain with just the green, but you do not have to add the colored yarn in if you don't want to. So there's still a piece of tape on there. And so you have the brown down here, the green is underneath, and then the yellow up here for the star, and then the colored yarn is going to be what we put on the top. Next up we have blue and white. The blue and white is to make the snowflake. I basically give you 2 colors, so it's up to you which color you want to use. This is the blue, obviously, but if you would like, you can use the white too. I know snowflakes are technically white, so yeah, I gave you an option there. I know these are both on rounds, but that's just because I had some extra. So rather than use up all of my squares, I went ahead and used these instead. So, but it's the same effect, all 3 of them fit on here. So that is for the snowflake. So I'm gonna put those off to the side since we're not going to be using those today. So you will need a couple of extra things today. I recommend having a hammer. I mean, I don't recommend it, you have to have a hammer. It'll be almost impossible without the hammer because you do have to nail the nails into the board. I also recommend scissors just because you gotta cut the thread. For the star, which is what we're going to make during this program, I've included both the multicolor rainbow or the yellow. So if you want to do a more traditional star, you can do the yellow. If you want to make it a little more lively, you can do the rainbow color. I'm probably going to do the rainbow color today because it's pretty and a little more exciting than just the yellow, but feel free to do the yellow. The yellow will look nice too. Before you start making your craft, you can always paint this board. If you want to change it to a different color, you are free to do that. You could always paint it white, black, whatever. I did not paint any of them for you, but and I'm not going to paint this one. I'm just going to get going. So the first thing that we want to do is put our pattern on our little board. So this is the same no matter what you're doing. I mean, no matter with the star, no matter which way you turn it, it's still gonna be a star. So I'm gonna go ahead and just sort of eyeball it. If you want, you can measure, but I'm not that worried about it. So you also received a little bag of nails. This should be enough nails to do your entire project, and a few extra just in case. You may also want to have some needle nose pliers for this very reason, but I don't have any with me. So, but I will show you if you want to use the needle nose pliers. I'm going to pretend these are scissors or needle nose pliers. You can use them to hold the nail so that you don't hit your finger. Needle nose pliers also come in handy if you want to straighten up your nails afterwards. Which I typically do, but I might just do it with my fingers. These are like tin, so they're not super hard to bend. But I'm gonna go ahead and start nailing these in. So you'll notice your pattern has the black outline and then it has the red dots. The red dots are where you're gonna put your nails. I can't say that they're perfect, so I would try to line them up with the black lines as much as possible, just so that we don't, just so that they still look sort of even. Like for this one, it was a little off on the corner over here. But again, once it's like there, it's hard to notice. My perfectionist streak kind of comes into play. But for those of you out there that are concerned with that, you can just make sure you're lining them up with the actual star rather than necessarily the dots. The dots are just a suggestion for where to put them on the line. And they are mostly there. They're usually about 1 centimeter apart on most of the patterns. So since I don't have my needles or my needle nose pliers, I'm just gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna go, I don't know, probably halfway down the nail so that you still have enough room to wrap. You do need enough to do your pattern around and wrap as much as you want. So just keep in mind the lower or the more hammered in, the more you won't really be able, you won't have as much room to add those layers. So I'm gonna do a couple of the edge ones just so that I know it's stuck in, and then just go ahead and do them all. Okay, so now we have those all hammered in. I did go downstairs and grab a pair of little pliers. These are jewelry pliers, but any type of needle nose or, smaller pliers will work. So you can see, I actually didn't do too bad on this one, but when you sort of turn them to the side, you can see there's quite a few that are a little off. So I'm gonna go ahead and sort of just straighten those up. Just so that it will keep our design a little more even. And kind of look at it from all different angles. Try and get them in so that they are mostly at the same height, because that'll just make it look a little bit better. It'll also ensure that you can, sorry if there's some background noise, they're working on something right outside the door, of course, when I'm trying to film this. So just, straighten them up a little bit so that they don't look quite so, you may be perfect at hammering nails, I am not, so that is why we have to straighten them up. Kind of do them all the way from the base because we want them to sort of bend. If they have to bend, we'd rather they bend at the bottom than at the top or the middle. This won't be that noticeable either way though, because you're not going to be looking at it from the side. All right, that actually looks pretty good now, so I'm gonna move on from until I see ones that bug me. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that the way it is now. And I'm gonna start out with my thread. So the first thing that we are going to do is take our thread, at least some of it, off of the cardboard that I gave you guys. So you will have about 20 feet here, 21 feet maybe, 20 feet. So I would recommend leaving most of it on here and just unraveling as you go. Otherwise you're more prone to knots, and I would also say it also can get mixed up in your actual nails, so it's easier if you don't have that much of it available. With this one, we can start anywhere. With the Christmas tree, I recommend starting and sort of going from the bottom up. So start off with your brown for your base, and then do your whole Christmas tree, and then do the star on top, and then obviously the color is what I did last, so that's what I recommend for that. Same with it's the same way with the snowflake. You're just gonna start wherever you like. It's completely up to you, and kind of keep going. So, but first we need to remove this pattern. We're not gonna leave that on there. So you can just sort of start tearing that up. And this is why you need that second copy, so that you have just like a secondary reference for what it's supposed to look like. The star is pretty cut and dry, but the snowflake and the Christmas tree are a little more confusing when you don't, or once the pattern is up. So you'll notice there's little bits in here. If you have a pair of tweezers, that would work really well. These needle nose pliers might help a little bit. I also brought this kind of pointy thing that's got pointy at the end, so you can kind of work it out of the corner here like that. Okay, so we got most of those out. So we want to start by making a knot on one of our nails. So kind of move everything else out of the way, because this does get tangled on everything. Oops, I missed one. Might be a little harder if you have paint on here. You'll have to be a little more careful, but I mean, tweezers would probably be the easiest thing to use. So we're going to make a knot. I recommend sort of just making, sorry, I'm trying to stay in the frame here, making just a simple knot, or not a knot, and then leaving it open, and then just tying it around, and then tightening it on there, and then put another knot in there to double knot it so that it will hopefully stay. I will probably add a little bit of glue to each of my knots once, whoops, and then cut the tail off. I probably will add a little bit of glue to each of my knots just because I get nervous that knots will come undone. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I would kind of recommend it just because I had one kind of come unraveled yesterday. So if you have super glue, that would probably work the best to go for really fast, but anything should work. So you just want to cut that tail kind of short, and then push it down a little bit. And then I'm gonna outline the entire thing before I start filling in the middle, just to give it some definition. We're also gonna do it at the very end. So we're gonna make sure to keep quite a bit of thread, enough thread that we can go around the entire outline again, just because it does help like to define the shape a little bit better. So you're going to loop it like that, and then keep going. I recommend going kind of around the outside because otherwise it might look a little disjointed. So you're just gonna loop around the entire outside. I'm staying pretty close to the top because we are gonna push these down. It's the only way you're gonna have more room for more. And I'm keeping it just sort of tight. I don't want it too tight. I have one kind of out of place there. I can bend it a little bit, just so that it stays in line a little bit better. With this one, that matters a little bit more than the other ones. The other ones, not as much, but so just keep going the entire way around. So I'm keeping it kind of tight, but not, I don't want to pull it so tight that the nails start to bend or anything like that. Okay, so I've gone around the entire edge, and what I recommend doing now is kind of going through and pushing down all of those loops so that you have more space to start wrapping. And you're gonna have to do this kind of periodically because otherwise it's too close to the top. So it's, I usually just push them down all the way. Just because you're definitely, no matter what, gonna need the extra space. So you will have to do this a couple of times or several times while you're wrapping. And I just sort of hold my thing off to the side. You can also use those pliers or, you know, whatever, in order to push it down. I'm gonna use my fingernail because that's what I've got. So now you can see they're further down on my nails. So, so now I can start sort of just wrapping. So from here, you can kind of go anywhere. I don't recommend going right next to where you were at. Going like this is gonna make things kind of awkward. So I would recommend kind of making it a straight line. So, but then from there, you can just keep going. I recommend making sure you wrap every one of them at least twice, just so that you can, you won't have any sort of like light spots. And then just going around. This is completely random. There is no rhyme or reason to this. So you just keep going and kind of pushing those down as you go, so that you can use it the next time you want to wrap around it. So I'm going to do that, and I'll have the camera up so you can kind of see what I'm doing, and then you feel free to get going or keep going if you've already started, and I'll show you how to finish it off. Okay, So you'll notice I only have about this much left on here. So I wanna make sure I save the rest of it to wrap around the edges. So I'm gonna go ahead and sort of pull that off. And now I am just gonna go around the edges. Again, just like how we started. Go around it, all of them at least once if you can, twice if possible, if you've left enough thread for that. But make sure that you can go around them at least once. Because again, it'll just sort of define that shape a little bit better. But we do need to leave enough at the end to make a knot, so make sure that you have a little bit left over. So I think I have enough to go around twice, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna push all these down though so that I have space to keep wrapping. Oops. So if you don't hold it very tight, that is what will happen. It'll come unraveled, so. But that's okay, you just keep going. Start over. Well, don't start over, but. Actually, I think I have enough, so I'm just gonna go around one more time. Just because I like to have it look very outlined. Actually, you know what? I think I'm just gonna finish it off. I think it actually, the outline is pretty good. So I'm gonna push them all down a little bit here. You don't have to push them all the way down. I am gonna cut off, so I have about this much string left. I'm probably gonna cut off a little bit just because I don't need that much. So I'm gonna wrap it around this one. And I'm gonna wrap it a couple of times. Just, you know, so that during the tying process, it's just a little bit more secure. So I'm gonna do an inside one. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a piece of tape. You'll probably have at least one left over, but you can use fresh tape if you want, and just tape that edge down a little bit. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use actually this little pointy, and I'm gonna push this up a little bit so that I've got kind of an open space there. And I'm going to put my thread through and then pull it through the other side. Sorry, I'm hoping I can get this relatively well on camera. And then just go through so that you're doing a regular kind of knot. Now that it's like a little more tight in, you can take that tape off because you're a little less worried about your thing unraveling, which it did unravel a little bit. So, but now it should be relatively secure, so you can stick it back through again and double knot it so that you're sure that it'll stay, hopefully. Again, I recommend taping it or gluing it maybe so that it's a little more stable. And I'm gonna knot that again. So now, as you can see, I've got the little knot here, and it is finished off. Then you can cut it, and you have your string art. Okay, so that's finished. So this is your string art for this month. I did go with a wintry theme. So like I said, we have that snowflake. You can kind of see them all together now. Our snowflake, our star, and our Christmas tree. So I hope you enjoyed making these. We would love to see what you made. You can send us an email at Avondale Library, all one word, Avondale Library, email library at avondaleaz.gov. So it's email library at avondaleaz.gov, and I'll put that up on the screen so you can see that too. So anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely winter, and I will see you again in January, where we are going to be doing some cross stitch, I believe. We'll also start doing in-person adult programming at the Sam Garcia Library. So if you are interested, please keep an eye out for that and register when we have the sign-up sheets. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.